Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into a scenario that honestly feels like pure science fiction, but the physics behind it are absolutely real and, frankly, a little terrifying. Think about it. For over 4 billion years, our planet has been spinning. Every sunrise you've ever seen, every season you've ever experienced, literally your entire life depends on that continuous, unstoppable rotation. But what if it just stopped? Today, we're going to break down the exact physical, environmental, and geographical consequences if the Earth stood entirely still. Okay, let's get into this.
So, I want you to picture an impossible, totally high-stakes scenario. And we're not talking about a gradual, slow-motion halt over millions of years here. I'm asking, what if tomorrow morning the Earth just slammed on the brakes and stopped its spin instantly? What exactly would happen to you? What would happen to our cities, the oceans, the atmosphere? Would it just be a bumpy ride, or would our planet become an unrecognizable nightmare in a matter of hours? Well, to understand the sheer scale of this, we first need to look at what's happening to you right this very second.
Right now, as you're sitting there, probably feeling completely stationary and comfortable, you are actually moving. If you happen to be anywhere near the equator, you're currently traveling through space at roughly 1,000 miles per hour. Just to put that into perspective, that is way faster than a commercial airplane. But you don't feel it, you don't hear a roaring wind, and you don't even notice it because everything around you is moving at that exact same speed. But that incredible speed is exactly why a sudden stop would be so catastrophic.
Chapter 1. The first terrifying second.
This is where the immediate physical crisis unfolds. And trust me, it happens in the blink of an eye. The fundamental rule of physics governing this whole disaster is inertia. You know the rule. An object in motion stays in motion unless something stops it. This is the absolute crucial scientific anchor for our entire scenario. If the planet suddenly hits the brakes, the bedrock stops. But you? The buildings? The cars on the highway? The oceans? They do not stop. Because of inertia, everything on the surface of the planet keeps moving eastward at whatever speed it was already rotating.
The immediate result is just absolute destruction. Imagine a gigantic, invisible force launching everything eastward at hundreds of miles per hour. People would be violently thrown across the ground. Cars would literally fly through the air like discarded toys. Buildings would instantly snap right off their foundations and collapse. Honestly, anything not deeply bolted into the bedrock of the Earth would be completely swept away. In just those first few seconds alone, billions of lives could be lost as entire cities are flattened. But the disaster doesn't end with the solid objects on the ground.
Chapter 2. Earth's Elements Attack. You see, it's not just the bedrock carrying all that inertia. It's the fluid elements of our planet, too. It breaks down into this rapid-fire sequence of destruction. Step 1, the Earth stops abruptly. Step 2, the atmosphere keeps spinning, which means supersonic winds hit. And Step 3, the water follows suit, creating mega tsunamis that completely wipe out the coasts. Let's look closer at how these elements turn into global weapons.
So the crazy part is that the air around us is also rotating with the planet. When the Earth stops, the atmosphere keeps rushing forward at nearly 1,000 miles per hour. Picture the absolute strongest hurricane ever recorded in human history, and now multiply its power. We're talking about global winds moving faster than the speed of sound. These winds would rip across the continents, crumbling skyscrapers and flattening entire forests like toothpicks. The sky would turn pitch black, just completely choked with dust and flying debris. Even if someone miraculously survived that initial jolt, these supersonic winds would act as a devastating secondary blow, making it virtually impossible to even breathe.
And then, we have to talk about the oceans. This is where things reach a whole new level of terrifying. Trillions of tons of ocean water just keep rushing forward. This creates mega tsunamis. And we aren't talking about normal tsunamis here, we're talking about massive walls of water potentially thousands of feet high in some areas. Think about places like New York, Los Angeles, Miami, London, Tokyo, Sydney, all erased. Ships would be hurled miles inland, major ports would just vanish, and entire countries would lose vast portions of their populations in minutes. The sea itself essentially transforms into a weapon of mass destruction.
Chapter 3. Redrawing the world map.
Now, if humanity somehow managed to survive those chaotic initial hours, the Earth isn't just going to sit there bruised. It is going to physically transform. To get why, we have to understand centrifugal force. It's that outward push you feel on a mass when it's spinning, kind of like being pushed against the wall of a spinning carnival ride. Right now, our Earth actually isn't a perfect sphere. Because it's spinning, it bulges right in the middle. That centrifugal force pushes the ocean waters toward the equator, which gives us the coastlines and sea levels we are all used to today.
But when that rotation stops, that outward force completely disappears.
The result is this eerie, super dramatic drift. Trillions of gallons of water, no longer held in place at the equator by the Earth's spin, just begin packing up and migrating north and south, pulled solely by gravity, straight toward the poles. It's a slow, but totally unstoppable reshaping of the entire planet.
This leaves us with a totally bizarre new geographical reality. Down at the equator, the ocean waters literally drain away. As all that water recedes, massive new deserts emerge out of nowhere, and lands that used to be separated by deep oceans suddenly connect to form massive new supercontinents. But up at the poles, huge amounts of water just collect there, completely submerging vast regions of the northern and southern hemispheres under a brand new, incredibly deep ocean. The world map you've known your entire life? Gone. We would literally need to draw up completely new maps for this permanently changed world.
Chapter 4: 6 Months of Darkness.
And those changes to the land are really just the beginning of the long-term nightmare, because this is where the extreme climate reality sets in. Without the Earth rotating on its axis, a single day would no longer last 24 hours. A full day-night cycle would now drag on for an entire year as the Earth slowly orbits the Sun. That means one side of the Earth faces the Sun for 6 solid months. It becomes a permanent day side, just scorching, deadly heat, severe droughts, and rapidly evaporating water. Meanwhile, the other side is facing deep space for 6 months, a permanent night side where temperatures plunge way below anything humans ever normally experience, turning whole landscapes into these frozen, pitch-black wastelands.
As you can guess, these extremes lead to a massive compounding disaster, the total collapse of global agriculture. Think about it. Our entire food system evolved expecting a very reliable balance of sunlight and darkness. Without that, plants lose their vital cycles. Months of non-stop, blistering sunlight will scorch crops, while months of freezing darkness will kill whatever is left over. This triggers immediate food shortages, completely shattered supply chains, and a massive crash in livestock populations. The stark reality is that Earth's agriculture was simply never designed for a motionless planet. Keeping billions of people fed would become absolutely impossible.
Chapter 5: Can humanity survive this?
All right, so we've looked at the disaster. Now let's talk about human resilience and the kind of wild, speculative engineering it would take to actually keep our species alive. Because if you want to survive this, you're going to have to find this, the Twilight Zone. And no, not the spooky old TV show. In this scenario, the Twilight Zone is a literal, narrow, razor-thin strip of land caught perfectly between the scorching permanent day and the freezing permanent night. It's this tiny sliver of habitability where temperatures might just barely stay survivable. Human civilization would be forced to drastically shrink down and migrate entirely into this small ring around the newly motionless globe.
But listen, even in the Twilight Zone, survival wouldn't be a walk in the park. We'd have to construct deep underground shelters just to escape the chaotic extreme weather above. We'd have to rely entirely on advanced technology to produce all our food indoors, since traditional outdoor farming is completely dead. We would essentially have to engineer completely controlled, fully enclosed environments. It would require a dramatic, unprecedented evolution in how we live, relying purely on human ingenuity to replace all the natural systems that the Earth used to provide for us for free.
But hey, before we completely count ourselves out, consider humanity's survival record. Our past is absolutely filled with seemingly insurmountable odds. We have survived ice ages that covered the entire globe in frost. We've endured supervolcanoes that blocked out the sun. We've pushed through devastating global pandemics. Time and time again, our greatest strength as a species has been our ability to adapt to nature's absolute most brutal tests. We aren't necessarily stronger than nature, but man, we are incredibly adaptable.
So, that leaves us with the ultimate question. Would humanity survive, or would it end? If the Earth's rotation suddenly halted, bringing unimaginable destruction, completely shifting oceans, and bizarre extreme climates, would our historical resilience actually be enough? Could human engineering and sheer willpower outlast a motionless planet? Or would the inertia of absence finally be the one test we just couldn't pass? What do you think you would do? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep wondering, keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.